All right, hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're going deep on something, well, pretty intense, huh? The situation at the U.S.-Mexico border.
Yeah, definitely a hot topic right now, and a lot of changes happening fast.
Exactly. It seems like every day there's a new headline, right? We got a ton of listener questions about a recent article you shared about some new policies affecting asylum seekers. Lots of people are worried about what this means for folks who are already here, trying to build a life.
Absolutely. It's a really uncertain time for a lot of people.
Yeah, and the article really highlights that, through the story of this Venezuelan mother, Nedi, she actually got to the U.S. with her family just days before these policies changed, like literally just before.
Yeah, talk about bad timing. It's like she just made it under the wire.
Right. So the article mentioned she used this CBPOne app. I don't know if you've heard about
Oh,
this.
yeah, CBPOne, yeah.
So what is that exactly? Like, how were asylum seekers using it?
Well, basically, the app was supposed to make things, well, easier, I guess. More organized.
Okay, makes sense.
Asylum seekers could use it to, like, connect with U.S. authorities, give them all their information and stuff. But the big thing was they could schedule their asylum interviews in advance through the app.
So that sounds like a good thing, right? Having a set appointment?
It was supposed to be, yeah. The idea was to create I guess you could say, a more humane system, and to avoid those massive, chaotic border crossings that we saw in the past. But, well, things have obviously changed a lot since then.
Yeah, I mean, the article says the scheduling part of the app was basically shut down the same day these new policies went into effect and future appointments were canceled. So what happens to people like Nedi, who are already here and we're relying on that process?
Yeah, that's the big question right now. I mean, on top of the app being useless now, you've got these new executive orders signed by President Trump. And let me tell you, they are introducing a whole wave of changes, all of them directly impacting asylum seekers.
Okay, so let's break that down a bit. There are a few specific things the article highlights. Like, for starters, it says one of these executive orders gives ICE, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, more authority to operate in what they call sensitive areas. I mean, what exactly does that even mean?
Well, it basically means IC officers can now do their thing, enforce immigration laws in places that were previously considered, well, untouchable, We're talking schools, hospitals, even places of worship.
Whoa, really? Wow. I mean, I can see how that would immediately raise concerns, right? Like about people's safety and, just being afraid to go to these places.
Exactly. It's a big shift, and it definitely has people worried. There are already concerns about potential racial profiling and targeting of immigrant communities. So expanding ICE's reach into these sensitive areas is, well, it's causing a lot of anxiety and fear, to say the least.
Right. Yeah, I can imagine. And then there's this whole expedited deportation thing that the article talks about. What does that actually mean? Like, in practical terms, what changes?
Well, think of it this way. It's like streamlining the deportation process, making it faster and potentially skipping over some of the usual legal procedures.
And so fewer safeguards, basically.
Exactly. And that's what has a lot of legal experts worried. They're concerned about due process, like making sure people have a fair chance to present their case and appeal a deportation order. This expedited process kind of just speeds things up. And there's a real concern that it could lead to errors and even wrongful deportations.
Wow, that's scary to think about that happening. And then on top of all of that, you've got the most, well, I guess you could say controversial change of all. The one aimed at ending birthright citizenship.
Yeah, that one's a real game changer.
I mean, that's huge. For people who aren't familiar with this concept, can you kind of explain what birthright citizenship means and how it works?
Sure. So basically, birthright citizenship means that if you're born on U.S. soil, you are automatically a U.S. citizen. It doesn't matter where your parents are from, what their immigration status is, you're a citizen. It's been that way for a long time. It's part of the 14th Amendment to the Constitution, so it's been around since after the Civil War.
Right. Okay. So it's a pretty fundamental part of how things work here.
Exactly. But this executive order, it tries to challenge that, It basically argues that the 14th Amendment was never intended to apply to the children of undocumented immigrants. And that sparked a whole lot of debate and legal challenges.
Yeah, the article mentions that. Who's actually fighting back against this order?
Well, you've got a whole bunch of legal experts who are saying that this executive order is, well, unconstitutional, plain and simple, and they're not alone. You've also got a bunch of states and cities, mostly those led by Democrats, that are also filing lawsuits to block the order.
So it sounds like this whole thing is going to be tied up in the courts for a while.
Oh, absolutely. This is headed straight for the Supreme Court, and it's going to have major implications for immigration law in this country, no matter how it's decided.
Okay, so while that's all playing out in the courts, what's the situation on the ground? I mean, the article mentions that local officials haven't really seen any large-scale ICE actions yet. Why is that?
From what we're hearing, it seems like ICE officials are kind of in a holding pattern, you know? They're waiting for more specific instructions from the administration. Apparently, a lot of the communication right now is, well, verbal, which isn't ideal for clarity.
So basically, a lot of confusion and not a lot of action, at least not yet.
Right. It's creating this like weird limbo situation for everyone. And I'm sure it's adding a ton of stress to people who are already in a very vulnerable position, like Nedi and her family.
Yeah, you have to wonder what's going through their minds. They
Yeah.
came here, they followed the rules, used the app, scheduled their interview, and now everything's just up in the air.
It's a perfect example of how policy decisions made in Washington, by politicians, can have this really immediate and personal impact on people's lives, even people who are thousands of miles away.
So bringing it back to Nadi and her family, what does all of this mean for their future? Like, do you have any sense of what might happen to them?
It's really impossible to say for sure. I mean, right now they're facing so much uncertainty, just like countless other families in similar situations. They had a plan, a path forward, and now it feels like the rug's been pulled out from under them. It's a really tough situation.
Yeah, definitely. And it makes you think about the bigger picture here, too. Like, what will the future of asylum in this country look like?
Right. I mean, will these new policies, these executive orders, will they be temporary? Or will they reshape the way we handle asylum, for years to come? These are questions we all need to be thinking about and talking about because they're going to have a huge impact on a lot of people's lives.
It's been a real eye-opener, this deep dive. Hearing Nadi's story and digging into all these new policies, just seeing how much uncertainty there is for asylum seekers right now. It's really important to remember that these are real people, real families caught in the middle of all this. And the choices we make as a country will have a lasting impact on their lives.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, thanks for breaking all of this down for us.
Well,
And thanks to everyone listening. Keep learning, stay informed, and let's all keep talking about these important issues.